Welcome to another edition of News Bites here on Daily World Television. My name is Kal Korff and I'm your host. Communist China is upping its belligerent rhetoric where it concerns the deployment of the THAAD anti-missile system, which is currently being constructed in South Korea, not far from the border of North Korea. The THAAD anti-missile system is capable of intercepting every ballistic missile that North Korea owns. It is not a threat to Chinese weapons because China has intercontinental missiles which have a range that far exceeds that of THAAD. It is, however, the right weapon at the right time in the right location to drive North Korea nuts and act as a deterrent, or at least provide South Korea with a needed defensive capability should it come under attack from North Korea's ballistic missiles. So what is China threatening to do this time? Well, one of the myths about China, and they love bending over backwards to tell the world this, is that they claim that they're the only nuclear power who doesn't have a first strike policy, and that is just absolute nonsense. Instead, a more accurate way to describe China's nuclear weapons posture is that they not only have first strike capability, they are the only country, in fact, to have dug thousands of miles of underground tunnels to ensure that they would survive an initial first strike so that they can then rise up and are able to launch a second counter-strike. This makes the Chinese military posture and its nuclear weapons capabilities rather unique. So China is now saying that should THAAD proceed, that it will have no choice but to launch a first strike and change its doctrine. It's trying to pin the blame on the United States and South Korea for what will be a formal declaration at some point in the future, unless they change their mind about now saying we have a first strike or reserve the right to first strike options. Now, let's be honest, all countries that have nuclear weapons have first strike rights or plans in the works. It's only common sense. Although it may not be desirable for a country to launch a first strike, nobody wants a nuclear war. The reality is that a war may dictate that a first strike be launched. Now, there's precedent for this. For example, in warfare, it is basic Combat 101 that you take out aircraft before they can get airborne if you're able to do it. You destroy them on the ground at their airfields so that they don't end up flying, because once they are airborne, they of course can go on the offensive and attack you. So in the history of warfare, whenever it's been possible, aircraft are taken out on the ground before they ever get a chance to get airborne and cause problems. The same is true with nuclear weapons. If the United States or Russia or even India knew for sure, guaranteed, that it was going to be struck first, it would go ahead and fire in a preemptive fashion to reduce the damage that would happen being on the receiving end of a nuclear attack. Therefore, for China to claim that all of a sudden THAAD is going to leave it with no choice but to switch its doctrine to first strike capabilities or preferences should it need to do so, it's just an excuse to enforce a policy that has really always existed but has never been officially acknowledged.